I reacted to When Scenes Entertainment, the True Creek gas station horror story animation. Now, When Scene, yeah, he does got a lot of stories from people, which I like about, and then he posted here. And it's crazy about the gas station though, man. Like, people be on some crazy stuff for no reason at the gas station. Like, we don't know what was gonna happen at the gas station because they be on some other stuff, like literally. Before I start this video, please y'all go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Yeah, let's go.
I'm a 24-year-old male, and this happened to me a few years ago when I was around 21. I remember because it was shortly after my birthday in December. It was really cold outside, and there was snow on the ground, as we had just had a snowstorm pass through our area. I lived with my parents at the time, and my mom is not really a fan of driving in the snow, so she asked me if I could drive her to the gas station for her to pick up some cigarettes for my mom and dad, as well as a few other items they might have needed. I said sure, as I wasn't really doing anything at the time, and I grabbed my keys, then following her to the car. I remember the cold air hitting your face pretty hard that night, so it had to be at
Damn,
least around the
in the
teens,
winter
which
too.
made the snow and whatever else was on the roads really slippery. This is important to know for later on in the story. The nearest gas station was about 5 minutes away from us, but given the conditions of the roads, it took us about 10 to get there. Once I was able to park the car, my mom got out of the car, then made her way inside the store. From where I was parked, I could see her inside the store, standing in the line that was leading up to the register. I kept the car running as it was really cold, and I just didn't want
That's
to
crazy. Y'all gotta drive in the winter too. Y'all know that
I was
it's a
browsing on
slippery
my
road out
phone
there
while
too.
waiting for my mom to get done, and right around that time I had seen her finally approach the register. There was a black truck that pulled up into the parking spot right next to my car. I found this a bit unusual given that the parking lot was empty, so there was really no reason for them to park right next to the spot where I was. But I kind of just chalked it up to them wanting to be as close to the entrance as they could, given how cold it was that night. No one got out of the car at first, but I didn't even notice this until I looked up to see my mom walking out of the entrance back to the car. I glanced over to the truck's passenger side window, and I could just make out a figure sitting in the passenger seat, and they
Oh
were facing
hell no,
my
that's
direction.
creepy.
My mom opened the door, then got inside, before then asking me what I was looking at. I told her about the truck pulling up well over a few minutes ago, around the same time that she approached the register, but that nobody had gotten out. She first chalked it up to maybe they were just waiting for someone inside the store to come out. But when I mentioned seeing a figure in the passenger side of the car looking towards our direction,
Stop looking at
she
me.
then began to sense
Jeez.
why I was so spooked out by it. She told me to just back out and get out of there, and that we didn't need to worry about them once we drove off. As soon as I put the car into reverse and then began to back up, the passenger door swung open and hit the side of my car.
Oh,
A tall,
disrespect.
very-built man stepped out from the car as soon as the door made contact with my car. I hit the brakes as soon as I felt the contact, and the man stood there before throwing his hands up at me and then staring in my direction. I did.
Discover a better drawing experience in Clip
Ass.
Studio
Hold on
Paint.
for a second.
Clip Studio Paint.
I didn't really know what to do, as I'd never really been in any sort of accident before. And my mom was sitting right there next to me and could see as well as I had that the door had not been opened until we had already started moving. The man slowly walked up to my window and just stood there. I cracked it very slowly, and I told the man that I was sorry,
That's smart.
that I didn't see the door open as I was backing out. For a brief moment, he didn't really say anything. That is, before he simply asked, "Roll down your window a little bit more. I can barely hear you."
What?
I knew this couldn't be true.
First of all, did he just said roll down the window some more so I can hear what you said? Ah, nah, bro. You got me messed up, bro. Like, don't tell me to roll down my window. I roll down my window a little bit. So you better back your ass up, like, for real.
It was really quiet in that area, and I wasn't even speaking in a low tone. I told him that I'd prefer to keep it cracked, as I really didn't want to let cold air get into the car. This really angered the man, and he immediately spoke in a more angered tone now. He was telling me to roll down my window yet again. I again told him no, and this
For real, back up.
took a turn for the absolute worse. Without any warning whatsoever, the man smacked my window really hard with his hand. Startled, I immediately jumped back and rolled the window up. My mom was right beside me, just absolutely yelling for me to just back out and leave. But
Just
I was
leave.
really afraid of hitting the man in the process, as he was still right next to my car.
First of all, I don't care if I hit him or not.
Window really hard a few more times.
Oh, you're trying to
tried punching it.
punch my car
It was
window
right
like
at this
that. What is
moment
wrong with
where
them?
I realized that if I didn't get my mom and I out of there fast, this guy was definitely gonna hurt us. I could see the cashier inside the gas station and heard what was going on, and he looked to be on the phone with what I could only assume
Yeah, for
was
real.
the police. But there was absolutely no way I could wait for them, as the man was now both punching at my window and now kicking my door.
If I had options, just wait till the cops came or just leave.
And he just totally lost it. I told my mom to hold on as I put the car into reverse again and backed out of there as fast as I could, just barely missing the guy by a few inches.
Yeah, I'm about to say just
The
leave.
parking spot before the man ran out in front of our car and slammed his hands right on the hood. I sat there frozen, not knowing what to do, as the man looked right back at me. I turned the car wheel
Bitch, what was you staring at?
the best that I could before booking it the hell out of there. After that, I honestly thought that was the end of it. But as we made our way down the road to a stoplight, I was able to see headlights that was fast approaching from behind our car. And once it was close enough behind us, I could then see that it was the same truck the man was in. There appeared to be two people inside of it.
First of all,
I assumed
he's chasing y'all too?
must have been the passenger, and I guess the driver was someone I hadn't noticed before. I told my mom that it was them behind us, and she started to freak out and call my dad, then letting him know what was going on. We were still probably about 10 minutes away from our house given the road conditions, but I knew that there was no way that I could get us back to our house in that amount of time before these guys tried to ram us off the road, or whatever else they had planned for us. My dad told my mom for us to attempt to head back towards our house and that he would try and meet us halfway in his truck. She told me this, and I agreed that this had to be our best option, given that I couldn't turn around and head back to the gas station still not knowing if the police had even been called or not. So once the light turned green, I punched on the gas and sped off.
Bro,
I'm gonna be
God,
completely
man.
honest. I really wasn't being that cautious of the road at this point, as there really weren't.
That's crazy how that same dude is literally, well, he's not the drive. He doesn't drive. His homie's driving, and they driving in the middle of the winter, and the snow is on the road, and it's slippery too. Bro, I kind of feel bad for that, man. Like,
Their cars at this point of the night. There were a few times where the car slid.
I hate it. Like you gotta drive in the winter too.
Lose control, but I wasn't gonna slow down and let these guys catch up to us. After about a few minutes of driving, we were able to see headlights right in front of us on the other side of the road. I was thinking that it had to be my father, and as we got a little closer, we were able to make out his truck beyond the lights. Very surprisingly, the truck was still behind us, still keeping pace with me given the road conditions. I could see my father cut across a midsection of the roads and then stop shortly off the side of the road. I started to slow down right as we approached and then pulled off to the side of the road, the truck still following me. As I
Dad came
the
through.
that was in the passenger seat hopped out of the car, then started making his way to our car.
Ah, damn.
The driver opened his door, but before he could step out, both of the men stopped dead in their tracks at the sound of my father's voice.
There you go.
I suggest that both of
Dad came through and just bust out the Glock like that. He said, yeah, you better back up.
I could see my dad walking out into the light, radiating from both his and my headlights. He had his 9mm pistol pulled and aimed right at the man's
Really
head
pulled out
as he
his
stood right
pistol
next to
like
my
that,
car.
dog.
I pretty much just watched as both of the men just stood there for a brief moment as my dad slowly inched his way towards them. The man then very
For real,
slowly
you better
backed
get your
away
ass
towards
back
his
in the
truck
car. I ain't
before
playing
then
around with
speaking to
y'all.
what I assumed was my father. really lucky you got here when you did." The man laughed and jumped back into his truck before it quickly backed out and drove off in the other direction. My dad walked to my window and he asked me and my mom if we were okay. I remember telling him that other than being scared shitless, I think we were fine. Shortly afterwards, my dad followed us back home just to make sure no one else followed us. I really have no idea what those men's intentions were or why the man acted the way he did. All I know is that if I hadn't reacted how I did to get my mom and I out of there, I just really hate to think what those men would have done to us.
For real. I ain't gonna lie, that was a good story right there, man. Like, that creep man just trying to act like he wants to, wants you to pull down your car window and he trying to punch it. Like, hell no, you got me messed up. And the dad was the G. Like, he came through to bust out the pistol like that, man. Like, hey, that's a hero right there, man. That's a good story about it too. Like, from Winston Entertainment. Alright, man, that was a good video, man. If y'all like this video,
Gonna play now, ready for the show.